On 31 March 2018, two warriors found themselves backstage at the Grand West Grand Arena in Cape Town, South Africa. Both were facing a pivotal moment in their career. Martin van Staden, a local pioneer of the sport of MMA, one of the organization's greatest icons, was preparing to headline the event. The EFC lightweight title was on the line, a belt that had eluded him all throughout his storied career. He would step into the hexagon at 10:30 p.m., his destiny in his gloved hands. Scheduled for the co-main event, elsewhere in the building, the USA's Dave Mazany, former EFC lightweight champion, found himself facing his own final hurdle on a long journey that was taking him back to the title he had lost. That night, both were successful, their victories placing them on a collision course for EFC 72. There, the local legend will defend his title against a man obsessed with reclaiming. This is their journey to 11 August. Van Staden versus Mazany, the EFC lightweight championship of the world. This is the countdown to EFC 72, proudly brought to you by Keith Ho Bet Exchange.
When I was fighting in Fight Force days, we used to have tables around the cage and we all used to sit and have dinner and drinks before the fight. Generally 2 hours before I used to compete, so an hour and a half I'd start making my way to the back. Sometimes I'd sit literally until my coach calls me to come and start warming up. Before, I just like to feel the energy. It's just one of my processes that I like to do.
Martin van Staden has been fighting since he was just a boy. Born in the South African coastal city of Durban, his upbringing was humble.
Myself and brother are very competitive. My dad is a very competitive person, always taught us how to defend ourselves. Just to stick up for yourself, and if you get bullied, stand up for yourself.
Forced to leave school at the age of 15 to assist with family finances, Van Staden found his now instinct for fighting following him in his daily life.
I wasn't drawn to fighting as such. I used to play rugby and enjoyed sport. It's when I left rugby, started going out, enjoying, that I used to get into a bit of altercations, and I think the rest is history from there.
By the age of 24, he was self-made, successful in the sign manufacturing industry, but at the same time, his inner chaos was following him through the nightclubs of Durban.
I was a small guy, I was only like 75 kilos with long hair, beach bum, you know. Guys used to look for trouble and they used to find it.
One evening, his habit for trouble came to a head. Involved in an all-out brawl against a gang of men and police, Van Staden made a desperate escape by diving into an ambulance and convincing the driver to quit the scene. It seemed that Van Staden's life was spiraling out of control, but for one silver lining. That night, one of the bouncers at the club, Kevin Thomas, also a mixed martial arts instructor, had watched as Van Staden battled his demons. He saw more than a confused young man. He saw talent in need of direction.
My coach was a bouncer at the time, and he got me involved in the sport, and I haven't looked back since.
After beginning training outside of the arena, Van Staden has never fought in anger again. Renowned for his aggressive style, bringing him a devastating 15 knockout finishes out of 19 career wins. It was personal tragedy that set Van Staden on the path to becoming the Punisher that he is today.
Losing Kevin was a big part of my life. You know, Kevin was my best friend. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be competing today.
Kevin Thomas, a committed martial artist, the man who had shown Van Staden the path to his own life purpose, died tragically from a heart attack At just 45 years old, Van Staden was devastated. His compass was gone.
You know, we did everything together. I used to go and visit him at work, go to the gym together, you know, and after he passed, I was a bit of a lost soul, if you could say, you know, floating around Durban, trying to find a home.
It was Van Staden's meeting with coach Richard Kwan that caused the brawler from Durban slowly to become the fighting scientist that he is today.
Martin is one of the old generation, you know, the old dogs in the gym. He was very raw when he came to me. He's always been a tough guy. He's not scared to fight anybody. He was more just a guy that wanted to land his hands the whole time.
With floating around in Durban and not finding a place to train, you know, I was training at 3 different gyms. I came up for a camp up to Joburg. I was fighting. It was my first or second fight in the EFC. Rory brought me past the gym. I think I was like 10 days out or 7 days out from my fight. Rich had a grin on his face and said to me, "Are you fit?" I said, "Of course I'm fit. I'm fighting in literally 7 days." He's like, "Okay, come, I'll take you for a session of pads." And I remember the gym was still in the old premises, small little gym. As I walked in, I was like, it's a small place, you know, I'm used to bigger like dojos in Durban. Richie took me on pads and destroyed me. And I was like, flip. As I walked out the gym, I said to Rory, "This is where I need to be." And Rory looked at me and he said, "Yeah, this is where you need to be." Joined the gym in February of 2012, and I haven't looked back. This is where I was supposed to be. It's sad to say that I don't know if Kevin had passed, if I'd be here. You know, who knows? Him passing was very sad for me, and it pushed me to come here. So, yeah.
When I started out fighting, it was a fun thing. You'd go in, you'd give it your all and come out. And usually you'd have a few bumps and bruises and, you know, it's like whatever. But I remember I fought against Ryan Ford, and that fight turned things around. It ended up being my 3rd loss. And after that fight, I had a severe injury where I paid a lot of money to pay off my medical debt that I accumulated through the surgery to reconstruct my face. I realized that fighting isn't a game. Fighting's not fun. It's not just there to flash yourself to the fans, or it's not there to make yourself feel cool. It's something that needs to be in your heart and you need to believe in. When I go into a fight, I go in knowing that there could be a devastating injury that could put me out forever. I might not be able to fight again due to an injury. That's what that fight taught me. I realized that this could be taken away at any time. It's war. It's not a fun sport. So I go in there dead serious with my game face on.
Born in Alaska, USA, Dave Mazany's childhood pursuits were the great outdoors of that wild state and assisting his father in the family construction business. Despite the sport of fighting being absent from his life, he always knew that it would be his calling.
One of my buddies I ran track with in college wrote me on Facebook talking about a time when I expressed that I was going to be a champion. In the middle of college, I was at a party, we were drinking kegs of beer, and I remember sitting down next to him and said, "Bro, I'm going to be a world champion fighter." And at that point, I never fought before.
At first, his ambition was modest.
I knew there was a local promotion. That was like the thing to do on a Wednesday night once a month. I wanted to fight in front of my friends and family, and like that was my first inspiration. I want to be a champion of Alaska. I never thought in my wildest dreams I would hold a title.
But the young man's talent demanded more. A 4-fight winning streak after debut gave him fuel to dream greater, and his collision with serious injury gave him the determination to risk it all.
I knew Anchorage, Alaska wasn't going to get me to where I wanted to be. So every day I would daydream and surf the web and figure out where I want to train.
A new life was calling.
I packed up my pickup and I moved all the way to Vegas because I knew Vegas had the best training in the world. I came to Vegas after my third loss. And I had a little money in my savings account, I was living with my aunt and uncle, just training every day. That's all I was doing. I was like living the pure professional life at that point. But the problem was I couldn't find any fights. America was in recession. There's not very many pro fights in Vegas other than the UFC. I had an opportunity to fight on 10 days' notice, you know, an EFC 5 against Vincent Nil.
This is Dave Mazany, training out of Las Vegas, Nevada, by way.
My confidence was super low. I had 3 losses, and the last loss I shattered my face. Vincent Nil was a very hyped up guy, and I looked at his highlights, and that guy was a very aggressive, strong fighter. My confidence was so low when I sunk a choke on him.
Same time, you see Mazany's trying to soften him up with those punches and then trying to slip in the choke.
In the middle of the fight, I locked it up, and the first thought in my head was like, I wonder how he's gonna get out.
2 minutes to go. Oh, that's it, and it's done.
And when he tapped, my world turned upside down. I was like so excited. I started believing in myself. That was the first time the Iron Claw came out publicly. It was the first time I shaved my face how I shave it now. The Vincent Nil fight was a rebirth, and that was a rebirth of the pain train. The man who was killed in the Ryan 4 fight was resurrected in the Vincent Nil fight. One of the things I like about Vegas, I know the culture in the city is way different than stuff I grew up with. I grew up with a lot of hunting and fishing and great hikes, and there's stuff everywhere in your backyard. All I have to do in Vegas is train.
In the midst of the city that hosts the world's greatest fights, Mazany's skills grew, with fight opportunities taking him all over the globe. 3 years ago, on her own MMA journey far from their hometown of Anchorage, his sister Gina Mazany joined him. Together, they train at one of the world's greatest fight facilities.
If you want to be the man, you got to beat the man. I wanted to be around the best fighters in the world and train with those.
I think it's amazing that I have a brother to train with. He's been in my corner every one of my fights. It's a really selfish sport, and a lot of times people do things not because they care about you, but because they want to look good. Like with Dave, I know that he genuinely wants the best for me, and I genuinely want the best for him. A win for him is a win for me. A win for me is a win for him. I think we're more of a benefit to each other than we really know.
5 years after his first EFC appearance, Mazany returned to the promotion, this time as a possible contender for the title. Now, with a glittering 18 fights behind him, the man who had doubted himself against Vincent Nil was a distant memory.
When I had the opportunity and I fought Sibu Sisu, I knew I had to come in guns blazing. I thought about that belt often, and I wanted to get back.
His pedigree and the perfection of his performance booked him a title shot.
Winning the title was great. I loved being a champion.
Mazany defended, rematching Leon Maynard in a war that cannot be forgotten.
My coach missed the flight, and so the only person I had in the corner was my sister and a couple guys from PFA. If I didn't have her, I don't know if I would have won that fight against Leon. I don't know if I would have had the power to, go round after round with him, and that was a war. That was an all-out war. You don't fight the Iron Lion and beat him without a little bit of testicular fortitude.
It was in his second title defense, however, against South African Don Madge, that the legacy that Mazany had built was ripped from under him.
I've always been that dog that was kicked down in the dirt, the guy brought to your hometown to lose. I was that guy from out of town that came from a reputable gym, but a win against me will bring you up. So to be the champ, but to be the guy that was favored to win, to be the guy that people were appreciating and cheering for, it was foreign concept to me. I froze, I thought too much. I remember defending the choke, but being too confident there. And I didn't have a sense of urgency. I didn't react off of my instincts. I was thinking and waiting things out. I got put unconscious, and that's how I lost my title.
I remember when I was having a hard time in school, and Dave always did pretty well. I remember one day Dave said, Gina, if I read a book, like I can't get it all at once, so sometimes I have to read it 3 times. Dave and I were blessed with like the athletic genes, but we're not, you know, super book smart like our other brother. He showed me that if you want to excel in the school stuff, you just kind of got to try a little extra harder. Dave has taught me about life is that if there's something that you want and you truly want to do it, if you are willing to put in the time and the effort and the energy into it, it can be achievable and it can be real. He puts everything on the table.
When you get your heart broken, the only way to get it back and mend it up is to redeem what you did, what happened in the past.
By July of 2016, Martin van Staden was at a loss. His move to Johannesburg had formed a new kind of fighter. He had risen to the upper reaches of the welterweight division.
Out of every single athlete I've trained in my whole career, he's the hardest hitting athlete that I've ever had. He literally can touch guys and they fall over.
But he could go no further. Twice he had fought for the title, and twice he had not succeeded. The man with a staggering 24 professional fights behind him was facing calls for his retirement. Accusations that he had reached his ceiling. Van Staden knew differently.
My whole life, I was told you won't be anything. You won't be able to do this. You can't do this. You know, I've had 2 surgeries. Doesn't mean anything. The mind's a powerful thing. A year's where it matters.
The knowledge ignited by his former coach had shown him the truth about himself, that he is a fighter. He would not relent.
Started my journey as a middleweight back in Fight Force, and then as soon as I got to the EFC, I dropped a bit, and I competed at welterweight for a good few years. After the 2 losses, one to David and the one to Drippers, I could see the guys were just bigger than me. I remember for the Drippers fight, I couldn't eat enough to keep the weight on. We decided then to cut to lightweight, and it's worked. I look better now than I've ever looked, and I've performed better than I've ever performed, so I should have done it a long time ago.
Van Staden's drop to lightweight was the final piece to a puzzle that revealed the fighter he was always meant to be. An efficient weight-to-power ratio put the Punisher in a new league. 3 knockout finishes, all within the first 2 rounds, put him in title contention, and the blue corner dressing room on the night of March 31st, 2018. He faced the undefeated Englishman, Gavin Hughes.
We knew what Gavin's strong points were. We knew he was going to strike with me, and we knew that if I tag him, he's going to shoot. I told Rich, we were joking, I said, Rich, I'm going to knock this guy out with a knee. And I forgot that I told Rich that. You know, I practiced a bit of knees right before I went out. When I missed the right hand and I slipped off and I grabbed his head, and when it landed and I could see him, you know, go down, I was super excited. It just looks like I was never meant to have a title until now. You know, every time I've had the shot, I've come short or something's happened, or so this guy got injured and I take a replacement fight, and it's just a story. That's just my journey, and it just makes it even more sweet now that I've become champion. Being the EFC lightweight champion means everything to me. It's my legacy. I've got a target on my back now, and I've got Dave now coming like a train and trying to take this from me, and he's not gonna be successful.
The day of a fight, I try to sleep as much as I can, although there's a bunch of nerves going into you, and I'm not eating a whole bunch. I want my belly to be kind of empty before war. Slowly start packing all my things. I fold them up nicely. I clean up my room. I wear specific clothes to the venue. Once I get to the venue, then I'll change into my fight gear. I'm not joking around, but I'm staying kind of loose. I usually find like a table or something to sleep under. I go through all my movements lightly, getting the mind-body connected with what I already know. Right after the fight before mine ends, I start to feel a transformation. My eyes kind of gloss over. I put my chin down a little bit more, and I know it's fight time. It's time to fight.
Once you're waiting for the curtains to raise, that's the moment. That's showtime. Now it's time to be a fighter. When you get to the box where you need to take your kit off, I get excited. I look in the crowd and the guy's putting Vaseline on and asking me if I've got my ball box or knife guard. I've got a smile on my face because I know now, now it's time. This is now. There's no turning back now. What a guy says when you're in the cage, no, you can't turn back anymore. It's game time. Process going into the cage, I always have a ritual where I jump off the side of the cage. It's kind of my thing, just to stamp my, my dominance and my authority, saying this is my cage. Squaring up and looking at your opponent, there are a lot of thoughts that go through your head at that moment. Did I train correctly? Am I going to be all right? But once the ref says go, there's nothing. There's just what you need to focus on, and there's just what you need to do. No other thoughts go through your head, but what you need to do in your objective. Well, that's for me.
On the 31st of March, both Martin van Staden and Dave Mazany entered the hexagon. Each bested their opponent.
What do you make of Dave's fight style, and how do you think that fight goes? How do you beat Dave Mazany?
I don't know, man. I throw leather, he keeps his head still. I try and hit him on his chin. I try and finish fights with striking, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna try to put him away.
Now, on 11 August, at the same time, in the same venue, they step into the hexagon once again.
I want to fight Martin because we're gentlemen and we're gonna go get it done for you guys, the fans who make this happen.
This time, to fight each other.
We're both men with over 20 pro fights. We both fought in the EFC for quite a long time. It's hard to say if there's a big difference between us. I think I have the edge to beat him.
I'm going to smash him. That's my goal. I want to viciously disperse of this gentleman and then move on. Dave's a nice guy, but I'm going to have to hurt him.
Their battle is not personal. Each is simply an obstruction, an obstacle standing in the way of a lifelong ambition.
I love having the title, and I love the opportunities it brought me. I felt like I represented the company. Even though I'm American, I feel like I represented the people. I appreciate every single fan that would come up. I want to be the EFC champion again.
He wants to be champion again. I'm champion. I don't want to give a belt up. I've just got that belt.
Martin will win this fight on straight up focus and hunger. He knows where he is now in his time of his life. He's fallen down and stood up so many times. That's made him who he is. His skin's like leather now. He's been through it all. And I think it's all built up to this one fight.
On 11 August, A champion and a former champion collide. For one's dream to remain, the other must disappear.
This journey, we don't do it for money. We do it to test ourselves. And the title, winning it in somebody else's backyard, traveling 30 hours, going across 9 time zones against somebody who trains at altitude, and then I come down to sea level, you know, and fight a man that has had a camp that studied me over and over and over. And if I could beat that guy for a title, that's a huge accomplishment. That belt means a lot because that means I've worked for it. It means I've gone above and beyond more than most people will ever do.
EFC 72 on 11 August, Grand West, Cape Town. Van Staden versus Mazany for the EFC lightweight title. Tickets and broadcast information at efcworldwide.com.